What is up, guys? Delboy here. So I thought I'd get this one out of the way. My prediction for Oleksandr Usyk versus Tony Bellew. This fight goes down on the 10th of November and it takes place in the Manchester Arena. Oleksandr Usyk's cruiserweight titles will be on the line. Of course, he is the undisputed cruiserweight champion. He holds the IBF, WBA, WBO and WBC cruiserweight titles. So a lot on the line for Oleksandr Usyk. This is billed to be his last fight at cruiserweight before he moves up to heavyweight. How do I feel about this fight? I've got to be honest. I obviously think it's quite a high profile fight. You know, it's getting quite a lot of attention, but how competitive is this fight? I think Usyk is a big favourite. I think he does a lot of things that will give Tony Bellew a lot of problems, to be quite honest. Let's talk about both guys and their attributes, their physical stats, etc. Oleksandr Usyk, he is listed as 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Tony Bellew is listed as 6'3" with a 74-inch reach. So Usyk has a 4-inch reach advantage on Tony Bellew. Usyk has a record of 15 wins, 0 defeats, 0 draws. 11 of those 15 wins coming by way of stoppage. Whereas Tony Bellew has a record of 30 wins, 2 defeats, 1 draw. 20 of those 30 wins coming by way of stoppage. So Bellew, you know, he's had more pro experience and arguably he is the bigger one-punch knockout artist here. But I don't think the experience really will play a factor. Usyk, for my money, has fought better competition as a pro despite being only 15 fights in. And not only that, he's also fought the very best in the amateur ranks. So despite Bellew having more pro fights, to me, Usyk has tested himself against a much higher level of opposition. That's just my opinion. For my money, Tony Bellew, he is an overachiever. You know, he's won fights where a lot of people felt he wouldn't. You know, the David Haye fights, despite David Haye being past it. I know that's easy to say in hindsight, but, you know, he wasn't expected to win those fights. The fight with Makabu, a lot of people felt he would lose that fight. The rematch against Nathan Cleverly, even in that fight, a lot of people felt he would lose. So Tony Bellew has upset the odds quite a few times, but for my money, despite him proving a lot of people wrong on many occasions, for my money, Tony Bellew has only truly fought at elite world-class level once, and that was against Adonis Stevenson, and we know what happened there. He got comprehensively beaten. It wasn't really competitive. Yes, he's got good wins against the likes of Makabu and Masternak and a past it David Haye. They're decent wins, but none of these guys were elite. None of these guys at that stage in their careers were world-class in their division. You know, Adonis Stevenson was. He was, and maybe still is, genuinely a world-class fighter. And that was the only time Tony Bellew has truly fought a world-class fighter, and we saw what happened. For my money, Oleksandr Usyk is a pound-for-pound level talent. He is genuine world-class quality. And skill-wise, Tony Bellew hasn't really seen much like Usyk before. In the past, if we look at Tony Bellew's fights, he has struggled with southpaws, most notably against Adonis Stevenson. He obviously got knocked out in that fight. But not only that, look back at the Bob Agassi fight, you know. Bellew was in a lot of trouble in that fight and it was very tough. You know, Agassi is a tricky, awkward customer. He throws shots at weird angles. He's good defensively, has decent feet, but he's not world class. He just brings awkward traits to the table, and he gave Tony Bellew a lot of problems. And again, I appreciate that was early on in Bellew's career, but if we look at Bellew's career, it does seem to be a theme that he struggles with southpaws. Even against Makabu in a fight he won, and won early, he got put on his arse against Makabu with a flush shot. The southpaw's left hand seems to be a bit of a problem for Tony Bellew. You know, he gets caught with that shot quite a lot. And obviously, as we know, Oleksandr Usyk is one of the best southpaws out there. And, you know, he's got longer reach. And I think Tony Bellew is going to have his hands full here. I think Bellew, he's a guy who, he's an orthodox boxer, you know, he likes to use his jab and look for counters. He's like a boxer-puncher, likes to keep his range. I really feel he's going to struggle to get his timing down here because Usyk is a guy who likes to move, not only in and out, but side to side. He moves his head, he bends at the waist, he comes in at multiple different angles, throws shots at different angles. I think Bellew is going to have a real hard time timing Usyk, and in the process, I feel Bellew will be resorting to looking for one perfect shot. I feel he's gonna know early on he cannot outbox Usyk because of Usyk's superior speed, volume, angles, and boxing ability. He's going to realise he can't outbox Usyk, and then he is going to resort for looking for one perfect shot. And when that happens, Tony Bellew will then get outworked, and he'll start to lose round after round after round after round. And before you know it, I feel we're going to have a fight where Bellew is far behind in the cards, and we'll start to see a slow beating. And we will see either a late stoppage, or maybe even Dave Caldwell pulls Tony Bellew out. I would not be surprised to see that happen. I think Usyk, to me, just has far too many tools. He's far too versatile. He can fight on the inside, he can fight on the outside, he can make adjustments mid-fight. And ultimately, he's far too classy for Tony Bellew. I cannot see Tony Bellew winning this fight. I see nothing in his career to suggest he can win this fight. Who's he fought on Usyk's level for a start? Nobody, as far as I'm concerned. And the guy closest to that level was Adonis Stevenson, and he got cleaned out and pretty much lost every round. He struggles with southpaws. I think he is going to really struggle with the range here. For his size, Usyk's feet are incredibly quick. And Tony Bellew needs to set his feet to land his counter punches, especially that left hook and that straight right hand. Look at some of the recent stoppage wins he's had. Look at Tony Bellew versus David Haye 2. Look at the knockdowns, look at the stoppages. You know, Bellew, again, setting his feet to land those counter shots. Tony Bellew versus BJ Flores in the pocket, flat-footed, countering. You know, Usyk is going to keep Bellew off balance. He's going to keep Bellew turning. And Bellew is going to have very few opportunities to land those counter shots, that counter left hook or that counter straight right. I really feel the opportunities for those shots are going to be few and far between. So when they do present themselves, you know, he has to take them. He really does. And even if he does take them, does Bellew have the power to knock Usyk out? I'm not so sure. Maybe he does. Maybe if he catches Usyk perfectly, he can knock him out. I'm sure that can happen. It's boxing, right? But, you know, Sky Sports are selling Bellew as this monster puncher. He clearly hits hard at cruiserweight. I'm not saying that, but does he hit harder than Murat Gassiev? I've seen nothing to suggest he does. Does he hit harder than Marius Bradis? Maybe, but maybe not. I've seen Marius Bradis knock out Manuel Charr cold at heavyweight. Vitaly Klitschko did not do that against Manuel Charr. Who are we to say Bellew hits harder than Bradis or Gassiev? If those guys couldn't knock out Usyk, why are certain people so sure Bellew will if he lands that left hook? I've not seen Bellew knock out heavyweights cold in the pro ranks. I've seen Bradis do that. And he caught Usyk with a lot of shots, and Usyk took the power really well. Gassiev landed a couple of good left hooks to the head, and again, Usyk took those shots well. I think people are really overselling Tony Bellew's power going into this fight. I'm not sold on him being this monster puncher. He clearly hits hard, but does he hit as hard as guys in the cruiserweight division like Bradis, like Gassiev, who Usyk has fought and been hit by? I'm not so sure. I'm really not. Obviously, Tony Bellew, you know, it's a boxing match. He has a chance, but I really feel he's outmatched here. Usyk is quicker, he's younger, he's fresher, better combination puncher, better feet, better defense, better amateur background, more athletically gifted, better chin. You know, to me, Usyk just has all the trump cards here. He should win this fight, and for my money, he shouldn't really have too many issues doing it. To me, he's beaten better fighters already. I'll be completely honest. I know I've underestimated Tony Bellew in the past, and a lot of us have, but Usyk has too much. So I am going to go with an Oleksandr Usyk late stoppage. Potentially Tony Bellew's corner pulls him out, but I feel you're going to see the referee jump in after a barrage of punches from Usyk. You know, the accumulation throughout the fight will get to Tony Bellew, and I feel Usyk will get a late stoppage victory. Maybe points, but I'm leaning towards a late stoppage for Oleksandr Usyk. I'm not being down on Tony Bellew. I think he's had a very good career. He's got a hell of a lot further than I expected. You know, but I just don't see him winning this fight. And I've seen a few people online suggest that Usyk could get robbed, and I understand that concern given how a lot of fights are officiated in the UK. I totally understand that, but I just don't think this fight will even be competitive enough for you to see a robbery. I just don't see it. But we will see. I've got Usyk by late stoppage. Share your thoughts below. Peace.